morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, well, we need to talk about a new Milotic. And Milotic is one of these Pokemon which is often pretty good in the Pokemon TCG, but I think this time it might have taken the biscuit in terms of being a really good card that's gonna see a very large amount of play. It looks awesome. Translation here from the lovely Antoine Boulet, as you may know. And what we've got here is a Rapid Strike card, although that's largely irrelevant, honestly. We got 120 HP, which is far from ideal. Lots of Pokemon naturally hit 120. You got things like Rapid Strike Urshifu that will hit 120 to 2 Pokemon. So you really want to have 130. That's a little bit sad, boo hiss, etc. Retreat cost of 2 does mean you can use either Air Balloon or Tower of Waters, given that you are, of course, a Rapid Strike Pokemon. And the weakness to Lightning is honestly fine. Post-rotation, it really doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a whole lot of Lightning Pokemon, so you're alright. Being a Water Pokemon does mean you are hitting weakness against things like Victini VMAX, but we're not really playing this as an attacker. We are playing this for the ability, and the ability is not so good. Apparently, it's called Dew Protection, and it prevents all effects done to you or your hand by supporter cards your opponent plays from their hand. Okay. So what does that actually stop? Well, it stops a few things. We'll get to the rest in a moment. But Marnie. It stops Marnie. To put it simply, the best use for this, there are going to be some weird niche uses here or there, but the very best use for this is stopping your opponent messing with your hand. Because this is what it stops. Now, if we go to the wording, it says, effects done to you or your hand by supporter cards. Which means if your opponent plays a Marnie, they will still shuffle their hand. They will still put their hand to the bottom of their deck. They will still draw a new hand of 5 cards. What it does to them doesn't change, remains the same, etc. What does change is what happens to you. And what happens to you is nothing. Your opponent plays a Marnie, and you keep your hand as it is. And this is huge, right? If you've been playing since Sword and Shield came out, you will have lost many, many games to a Marnie. You will have lost when your opponent Marnied you when they knew you had a great hand. But you will also have lost a whole bunch of games where your opponent Marnied you from a 3-card hand to a new 4-card hand, and then you actually drew nothing and lost the game from there. You will have lost many different games to Marnie in many different ways. And this is just one card which basically guarantees that Marnie isn't going to hurt you. Marnie can't hurt you anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Not if you've got Milotic. And this is absolutely huge. I mean, to take a fairly extreme example, I showed you a Smeargle the other day. And Smeargle basically does 30 damage base, plus you show your opponent as many different types of basic energy in your hand as you like, and you do 30 more for each type of basic energy you show your opponent. So clearly here, if you've got 8 different kinds of basic energy in your hand, you're doing 270. That's awesome. So your opponent is going to want to play a Marnie as fast as they possibly can to stop you doing that 270 turn after turn. But now, as long as you got a Milotic down, your opponent can play as many Marnie as they like. They'll never disrupt your hand. You are good. It is important to note that this does specifically refer to supporter cards. It will not stop item cards messing with your hand. Clearly here we're looking primarily at Reset Stamp, but it's also really important to know that Reset Stamp was in Unified Minds, and will be rotating out for us about when this comes out. And I've mentioned before, Japan tends to have a later rotation than we do, so this is actually going to be a pretty big deal. Over in Japan, they're going to have a period of time where Reset Stamp is the only reliable hand disruption, because there's no supporters they can use, so they can use Reset Stamp. But also, that's probably going to lead to an increase in Reset Stamp, or at least it could. Whereas over here, Reset Stamp's going to go away, Milotic's going to take Marnie away. And if you've been playing a while, you will have played in some formats where we didn't really have much hand disruption, where you would be able to have several turns in a row where your hand was safe. And it's a very, very different way to play the game. You can plan several turns ahead. You can have cards in your hand that you know are going to be safe, so you can search out cards now using things like Evolution Incense, knowing that you're going to be able to use them later. You can use Quick Ball to ditch a card from your hand to grab a Pokemon, knowing that you don't actually want to play it now, but you will want to play it next turn, and knowing that you're going to have it next turn, which sometimes you're going to want to do to get rid of a card now, etc. It's wonderful. It is a different and weird way of playing the game, but it is extremely welcome. And this is what Milotic does. Now, it's not just Marnie, because of course I showed you the other day, one of the cards we know is coming up in the not too distant future is a reprint of Judge. Now, Judge is actually very similar to Marnie. Marnie is both players shuffle their hands and put the bottom of their deck. Player who played Marnie gets 5 cards, other player gets 4. Judge is both players shuffle their hand into their deck, and they both get 4 cards. So it's a similar kind of thing. There are differences. I went through it all in that video. The point is, it's not just as simple as saying Judge is better or Marnie is better. A lot of the time, Marnie is going to be better, but there are absolutely reasons to play Judge. And even if you don't think Judge is ever better than Marnie, and I would disagree very strongly, do remember that Judge has regulation mark E rather than D for Marnie. So it's going to be around for a year longer, so we're going to have a year where you kind of have to play Judge because Marnie isn't here anymore. And incidentally, for that entire year, Milotic, which you can see also has a regulation mark of E, will be around. So it's not even just to protect us from Marnie now, it's to protect us from Judge in the future. And this is also going to be pretty big, because you should expect, there's no guarantee of course, but you should expect that the moment we rotate out Marnie, an awful lot of players are just going to gravitate straight towards Judge, because Judge will then become the best option by a fairly wide margin. This is huge. And it's not just huge for this, it's also huge because of Zoroark. Now, for those of you that may have forgotten, Zoroark's a card we looked at the other day, and yay, we now have a Japanese language version of the card. Incidentally, the lovely Antoine Boulet has had a peek at the Japanese language version and confirmed that the ability is correct. The ability basically says you can swap it with any stage 1 in your discard pile, which means you get a Zoroark out, and at any point, that Zoroark in your on your play on the field can turn into any stage 1 that is in your discard pile. That's huge. Because now it allows you to do some weird, crazy surprise tricks with Milotic. Your opponent is going, oh, they've only got 2 prizes remaining and they've got a really large hand and I'm slightly worried. Oh, hang on a second. I can play Marnie. And we've all seen those games where your opponent will dig for Marnie. And they have to dig for Marnie, because if they don't Marnie you out of your great hand right now, with the amount of cards you've got in your hand, you are going to win the game next turn. And what Milotic does is it basically says, mate, don't even bother digging for Marnie. You're not going to be able to stop me. I am going to win this game. And being able to take a stage 1 Zoroark and turn it into a Milotic is huge. If you're playing any stage 1 deck whatsoever, you can build it around Zoroark rather than just building it around your regular stage 1, and then you can play a bunch of random stage 1 techs to help in particular circumstances. You drop 1 Milotic into your deck list, and at any point, if you're in a situation where your opponent can stop you winning the game by dropping a Marnie, you turn Zoroark into Milotic, and your opponent can't do it anymore. It is hard for me to overstate how important this card is. Now, that doesn't mean it will see a huge amount of play, although I am willing to bet it will. I am confident saying it will. Obviously, nobody can actually predict the future. I just feel extremely confident. So when I say it will see a lot of play, I cannot actually tell you for certain. I just feel extremely confident that it will. But the fact of the matter is, we've got here a counter to one of the most annoying cards we've seen. And the next really annoying card we're going to see, that's Judge coming back. And then you got other things like Jesse and James, and we all saw Tord Reklev in the Players' Cup playing a disruption deck with Jesse and James to wreck your hand. And that's not the first time we've seen that card, and that'll be turned off here. Now, there is an attack here, but we're not going to spend very much time on it. It's not the reason to play Milotic. 1 water, 1 colorless energy, flip 2 coins. You do 70 damage for each heads that you flip. It's fine. And it can be paid with a rapid strike energy. So it's a 1 energy attack, essentially. And double heads will be 140, which isn't terrible. And you can use Glimwood Tangle to give yourself an extra chance to flip that double heads. But even with double heads, it's only 140. With weakness, that's not even a 1-hit kill on a Victini V Max. So it's there. But people aren't playing it for the attack, people are playing it for the ability. So you can either play a 1-1 Milotic line, or you can build it into any deck with Zoroark, and basically, it just gives you protection from these super annoying cards. I'm giving it 5 Wassies, and I don't think I even need to really think about this very much. This is a really good, really impactful card, and like I say, I cannot tell you for absolute certain, definite, it will see a huge amount of play. Nobody can, because we don't know the future. But I feel extremely confident telling you that I think this is going to see a huge amount of play, because it does so many cool things against these super annoying cards that we frankly don't want. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.